because Jehovah built it. You can feel the spirit and positive energies. Questions asked comfortably like you're talking with family. Get ready to settle in. Wait for the show to begin. Invite a couple of friends. It's time for Unhinged.
What's really going on? What's really going on?
I introduce to you Get You Home Towing, a family company with the sole purpose to get you home. Whether you need roadside assistance or transport services, we have a flatbed big enough to transport any vehicle to its destination. Our offer to you is our gratitude and great service at a much cheaper price. We are also open to transport through long distances. If you need us, all you have to do is call that number. I'll see you soon.
I don't play about me. He really don't play about me. Yeah. Oh, we live. My bad. Hey, y'all. How y'all doing? Y'all all right? I mean, what's really going on? Thank you so much for tuning in. You've tuned in to Unhinged Live, R2K edition. That's right. That's right. But I guess you all are sitting there wondering, where is the R? Allow me to digress and go ahead and say thank you so much for tuning in. Yes. And I want to go ahead and say thank you on this spot to all of our replay viewers who are going to go ahead and join us at a later date and time. We appreciate each and every one of you taking out time from your busy schedules week after week to come on in and see what we're talking about here at Unhinged Live. Just want to take a moment to get you familiarized with what's going to happen in tonight's conversation. Of course, y'all know we're going to give it real quick, a super fan shout out. And listen. If I was you, I would get every woman, man, boy, girl, dog, cat, fish, frog, whatever it is, whoever it is you would like, gather them around your listening device, whether it be your laptop, your tablet, your cell phone, maybe you're riding around in your car, turn up the volume. Tonight's conversation is sure to be one for the records. We have a very, very exciting guest. Actually, we have two very exciting guests scheduled to sit in with us on tonight. I know you all saw this week's advertisement. And of course, y'all heard me singing it at the top of the show. God really don't play about me. Tonight's show is truly an answer to prayer. We will be having an engaging conversation with Janice Kenyatta and Kamal Kenyatta. Oh, they are partner authors, writers, educators, activists. And tonight we'll be discussing their third edition project, Black Folks Hair. Yes, Black Folks Hair. There's a subtitle there, but y'all know I'm a queenager and I don't always remember every single little detail off the top of my head. I'm so glad you all love me and embrace the tilted halo effect. So check it out. I gotta go ahead and take it back to the top of the show before I get into the superfan shout out for the week and ask my good girlfriend Karen Sims Harrell of Twisted Threads LLC, how'd she do it? So Karen, I gotta ask you, girl, it's another new Tuesday. How are you?
I am doing okay. You know, we've had some weather. For those of you who know me, know that I'm solar powered, and so this sun in, sun out. I'm trying to always channel the sunshine to know, right? Y'all know I keep my flowers in my hair because I'm here for the sunshine, not because I want it. I need it. So we've had a couple of days of rain. I think you all had rain up there, and most folks forget we have a couple of states between us, Tilted. But I'm excited to say the sunshine has returned and my demeanor is even the better for it. So enjoyed an amazing Mother's Day weekend. Hopefully you did the same. I don't think nobody is on the made it to the naughty list. We got a bunch of gifts. Somebody deemed themselves the winner. Yes, it is a competition between my children on who is going to treat me the best. And who am I? Who am I to get in between their fight between themselves? And so I'm super excited that everybody showed their love in their different particular ways. But of course, none other than one of your favorites, Mr. Joshua, says he won. I'm not a judge, I'm not the jury, but he is self-proclaimed the winner, the award-winning Mother's Day gifter. And I'm just saying, let's figure out who gets it for the next holiday gift giving extravaganza. So super excited. So now, Tilted, I appreciate you checking in. But as one of my strong friends, I never can forget to check back in on you. How you doing?
Well, I'm doing okay today. In spite of the fact that the sun decided to hide behind the clouds yet again and let some more raindrops fall. But I'm grateful to be alive, to even be alive to huff in all this pollen that I keep huffing every time I walk outside my front door. But yeah, I'm doing okay. To add to that, I might even say I'm good-ish.
Okay,
I know
I'll take it.
Introduced the term to the platform a couple weeks back. I'm goodish. I had a very peaceful and relaxing Mother's Day. I had a home cooked meal prepared by baby girl extraordinaire. She also cut the grass, so y'all wouldn't have to send out, APB looking for me, only to find me passed out in a pollen coma in my backyard because I had to cut the grass. But I'm doing okay. I'm doing goodish. I allowed myself to sit and process what I was feeling on Sunday because y'all know I lost my mother on May 6th, 5 years ago. So I'm still in the mourning process. And I'm sharing this with you all to make sure you all know that it's okay to talk about what you're feeling and what you're going through. So your strong friends that you keep yourself surrounded with can be aware. Some of the strong friends you're surrounded with are kind of new and they don't necessarily understand your silence. So I'm grateful for you, Karen, for asking me how I'm doing, because you understand that what my silence is when I get silent. And I believe you hear my silence very loud. So thank you.
You have a frequency. You have a frequency.
We do. Yeah, I do have a vibe, don't I?
Mm-hmm.
I do have a vibe of my own, and I appreciate you, girlfriend. But other than that, we got food in our bellies. We got a roof over our head. We got a couple dollars in our pockets, some gas in the car to get where we need to be. It's all good. It's all good. I'm here.
Beautiful.
And that's more than enough. So check it out. I'm looking at the clock.
Yeah.
And some Southern roots, my peoples is from the South. So I got to make sure we stay on topic to make sure I don't get chastised off air by one of my elder family members for not bringing our guests into the studio in a timely fashion. There's the doorbell. There's the doorbell. Mm-hmm. I guess I got to go ahead and give this week's super fan shout out.
It's time. It's time.
It's time. Go ahead and give me that drum roll, please.
Ow.
All right. This week's superfan shout out goes to a very dear friend of mine, another creative that we are blessed to be connected with. A creative who has tapped my email, tapped my phone, and has invited me to participate a time or two in their production. I am talking about none other than Patterson, New Jersey's very own Clark Clyburn. That's right, my brother Clark Clyburn of Cly Miller Productions. Some people, that's right, clap it up for my brother. Clap it up for my brother. Because, I've heard people in the past refer to him as the Tyler Perry of Patterson. No, I'm gonna need y'all to scratch that. He is the Clark Clyburn of Patterson, New Jersey. I'm very excited about the new production. Actually, 3 short stage plays that he'll be presenting in the month of June. And for those of you who are in the listening audience and are in our engagement group on Facebook, you'll see that he posted the information about those plays on today. The productions will take place on actually Sunday, July 27th at 3 p.m., Saturday, August 9th at 3 p.m. at the Luna Theater. Now I've been on that stage with the brother before. So if y'all want to go ahead and support him, because he and the crew just came back from performing another piece in Memphis. This is the first time he's taken one of his productions on the road, and I am so excited for what I see God getting ready to do in this brother's life next. So Clark, I just want to say salute to you, brother. I appreciate your support. I appreciate your love. I appreciate your prayers. And mostly, I appreciate your creativity and the heart you have to give others an opportunity to showcase talents worldwide that so many people may not be able to see. But because you've chosen to make yourself a conduit of creativity, brother, let me tell you something. Ain't no blessing that God is going to withhold from you. So thank you for being a supporter of even Unhinged. The entire tribe family appreciates you, and big loves to you, brother Clark. Now I see that we have the aura in the Cara.
We got the aura in the Cara. Wait, because we got to make sure. We got to make sure that she is video ready, right? So I'm a see if
I see a smile on her face.
That's what I see. So we're gonna add. Listen, I'm gonna press the button and we're gonna see what we get.
We're gonna see.
Yes, we're gonna see what we're gonna see.
Hi,
Good
ladies.
evening, Queen.
Hi, ladies. I am so sorry. Today is one of those days where the royal one, my new name, the regal one,
your new name. That's right.
Yes, my new name.
She is no longer Royal Rhonda. You know, she's no longer Royal Rhonda. She has now been crowned runway royalty at NEPA Fashion Week. She is now Regal Rhonda. That's the way I'll refer to her moving forward. So thank you for making time. You know, I had to hop out of a meeting myself to hop on here. And just so y'all know, I'm going to disappear myself because I have a panel discussion to participate in at 8 p.m. So I'm grateful for both you, Rhonda, and Karen for being able to carry the joy tsunami forward. So let's not stall the hour. Listen, y'all. Tonight's guests, all right? You saw Janice on the flyer. Yeah, I put a on that because she honored my request on site to see if she could bring Kamal in on the conversation, because they co-wrote this book that we are going to be discussing on tonight. And the first question I had for our sister Queen when she popped in the studio pre-show was, where's the curriculum?
Yes.
Because I ran into so many nuggets. I received so much affirmation in the words I read, for the way I've had to advocate for my choice to wear my natural hair for upwards of 25 years. And then giving that same information to empower my daughters. They too wear their hair naturally. Listen, we got both Janice and Kamal Kenyatta in the studio on tonight. So get ready for one great conversation. If you saw what I wrote in the advertisement for this week's broadcast, I invited you to get your passports and your notebooks together.
Yes.
So Karen, let's not stall the hour. Can we bring them in?
Both of them. Welcome. So excited.
Welcome. Hi.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much to both of you for your yes and joining the Unhinged family on tonight for this engaging conversation. I just want to say thank you to the both of you publicly for this labor of love.
Yes.
But it was very evident through each word written that you poured your knowledge into this project uh, for the love of the people. Yeah, I got to put it out there. You did it for the love of the people to give
Yes.
us some breadcrumbs and a roadmap back to who we truly are and who we are meant to be. We are kings and queens, and it is very evident in our hair.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I hope you appreciate the fact that you are sitting in studio with three very natural queens on tonight.
Yep.
We appreciate you. We appreciate
Yes, with very different journeys too, you know. And
Yeah.
so Tilted, I know we
Yeah.
one of the things for both of you as we welcome you as our guests, both of us have very different journeys. And Janice, as we were talking a little bit in the pre-show, some of that generational practice that we have. And so we try to stay smart over here, right, at our Tilted family. And we had decided probably a few months ago that we're going to try to do a book a month. And so this book is one that we wanted to highlight to our viewers and our listeners, because not that everybody in our audience is only Black, but we got folks who are have some connection to Black folks here. And I love the fact that we're going to get into the history. We're going to get into the longevity, because for me, Janice mentioned, come out, that this book is a 30-year-old, like started, the project itself started 30 years ago. And now here you are, still relevant, still all of the things. And it's still a fresh conversation. Like, I would not have even known. That was kind of I had to write it down because I said, okay, yes, that is 30 years. But when we're thinking about the impact of our history, I know, Tilted, I feel like we got to back up just a little bit, right? Because we know who our guests are, and we are esteemed by their presence. But there's some folks in our listening audience, and Janice, I'm going to start with you, and then you can pass the baton to Kamal to tell us a little bit about who you are. We've got a little bit of a bio about you all being educators, the background of how this book started and how the work kind of continues in this revisited topic. But I want the people to get a little bit of background of who you are and how this project came to be. And we're going to dig into some of the other projects that you had. So, Janice.
Okay, well, thank you. Before I start, I just want to thank you all for having me here and for inviting Kamal as well, because I think it's a good balance since we co-wrote the book for him to be here. So thank you for inviting us. I was born in Newark, New Jersey. That's where it all started, on August 8th, 8th month, 8th day. They tell me that's significant.
Yes, it is.
Yes, and then we, after I was born and I got to be a little bit older, we moved to Orange, New Jersey, Karen.
Right.
And then eventually we moved to Piscataway. So I've been around a little bit in the state of New Jersey, and now I live in, for many years I lived up in the Poconos in Albrightsville, New Jersey. You know, is married, the married person, and then now I'm living in Wingate. So I've been around. I get around, as they say. And to answer your question in terms of how this book, and I'll just show it just for the audience. This is the third edition of Black Folks Hair, and we call it Black Folks Hair Revisited: Secrets, Shame, and Liberation. The first edition, which was written in 1996 by Kamal and I, was Black Folks Hair: Secrets, Shame, and Liberation. Then we did a second edition to update it. And then we did this third edition to even further update it, because there have been changes that we have undergone. And before I continue, Karen and Nikita, you use a word that's very indigenous and peculiar and particular to the black women: hair journey. Most Black women know what hair journey means. And that's what I went through a hair journey. We all go through a hair journey once we become aware of our natural curls, our coiled, beautiful natural curls. We define it as, well, I have a hair journey. And we all have a story to tell, as Karen so eloquently put it. And my story began when Kamau and I were married a few years. I think our oldest daughter was, what was she, about 2 at the time? Now, year old,
3.
2 years old when we wrote the book, Aaliyah. And he took a class in Philadelphia, a Pan-African class. And one of the subjects that was brought up was about Black people, and specifically Black women. Black men have done it too, but specifically Black women straightening their hair. And so he came home out of the clear blue one night and said to me, "Why do you straighten your hair, Janice?" He asked his mother, "Mom, why do you straighten your hair?" And it was a knockdown, drag out conversation. We're like, what are you asking me? You know, when you talk about Black women's hair, it's a very personal subject. There's a lot of stuff going around here in terms of why we straighten our hair, but some of us don't even understand why and what that is. We've done it generationally because our mothers did it, our grandmothers, our great grandmothers, our great great grandmothers. At some point, straightened their hair and put emphasis on, at a certain age, your hair is going to be straight. Where did that all come from?
Right.
He hit me with that question. I had we've gotten excuses from people, like his mother said, "Well, I think my face is too big to wear my hair natural." We conjure these excuses as to why we don't wear our natural hair. I've heard it all, especially after writing this book and interviewing thousands of women. I've heard every excuse in the book, but my specific excuse was, I don't know, my mother did it, and blah blah blah. As I was saying, he said, and then anyway, as long story short, one of the things he said to me was, when you straighten your hair and you take away the original beauty of your natural hair, our daughter at the time, we just had the one, and then later on we had the other one, but our daughter is going to do the exact same thing you do. She is going to emulate what she sees her mother doing. And that resonated with me big time. Said, no, you're absolutely right. And then that's when my hair journey started. It started with me letting my relaxer go out, and then embracing and enjoying and learning how, because that's a big excuse that a lot of Black women, and I should also include biracial women who have curly, coily hair. The excuse is, I don't know how to take care of it. We hear that a lot. Well, you learn how to take care of your relaxed hair, just like you learn how to do that, the straightened hair, you can learn how to take care of your naturally curly hair. And that's the hair journey that Black women mean when they say that. Taking care, grooming, getting it the way you like it so you feel comfortable and beautiful in your skin. I don't know if you want to add to that, Kamau.
Yeah. Well, to get started, I'd like to thank Nikita and Karen. When I came on, the hair is the first thing I noticed about you all. And I see Rhonda as well. Janice kind of left out a little piece about how it kind of got started. I had gone to that class, and one of my mentors, he started talking about hair that night, and he talked about it in such beautiful and magnificent terms. I was like, I have never heard anybody talk about our hair like that. And I said, wow. And when I came home, I asked her, she made light of it. We had a royal battle almost. I was cowering in the corner. Yeah, I'm like, and so the same thing happened with my mother. And I kind of started thinking that every woman that I would ask, because my brother and I kind of did an experiment with it, and everybody responded with this volatile response. And so we said, at some point I started saying, somebody should write a book about this, and I kept saying that, and everybody kept saying, you should write the book. And what had happened, I started writing maybe the first 2 pages, and I thought to myself, if I write this book, I'm gonna have a problem. Women gonna have a problem. So I said, let me ask Janice, because by that time she had already gone through her journey at that point. And I said, would you be open to us writing the book together? and that's how that got started. And it's been quite evolution. You just reminded me. I realized it's 30 years that when we first started, we were wearing locks then, I believe. We were still both wearing locks at the time, right? And we would go to different places around the country for interviews and so forth. And a lot of places, it was novel to them. It was like, what did you do to your hair? And I'm talking about Black people saying this. And we've seen that evolution over a period of time, and we predicted that this would happen because of several things that was going on with the emphasis on health that was beginning to become prevalent, as well as digging into our culture. As more of our people start to dig into our culture, they start beginning to feel better about it, and they see the inconsistency. But there's still a lot more work to be done around the area. But the important thing is, and I think it was Nikita said about her children, that's the important part, because they're going to do not what you say, but what they see you do. It can't be any other way. And the teenage group, that 12 to about 16-year-old group, they're the hardest group to deal with. Some of them got my brother and I hemmed up out of college. And they were, man, we got out of there with our lives barely, you know what I'm saying? But by seeing other young girls their same age doing that, they are influenced as well. So the more of them that do that, the better it'll be.
And like Nikita said, our daughters wore their hair natural from the time they were their whole lives. And they still, they're 35 and 35, 33 now, and they still wear their hair natural. They never talk about changing it, altering it. And before we continue with this conversation, I think it's important too for the listening audience. I want to make a slight disclaimer. When we talk about our natural hair and we talk about hair straightenings and such, I don't want women to think that we're coming at your neck, coming at your throat, and putting you down for this. Right. That is not the intention of this conversation. And that wasn't the intention when Kamau and I decided to write this book together. The intention was to educate, first of all, hit that historical piece. Most women, most men, this includes men as well, we're really ignorant in terms of the historical basis of where hair straightening all started from. And so we wrote the book to hit the historical piece very hard, to hit the sociological and psychological reasons, sociological reasons why Black women even started straightening their hair. So we wanted to educate, inspire, and motivate women to think about it, not just do it unconsciously, but think about what you're doing to your hair over a long period of time.
Right.
That's why we wrote the book, not to put anybody down specifically.
Absolutely.
I want to make that clear.
I definitely appreciate that, Kamau. I have to say, you were definitely a maverick coming into a room asking multiple Black women, why do you do this with your hair? I promise you, my husband is like, that's your business. I'm not even gonna tell you what I like. He'll say, oh, I like that, but he's like, I'm not saying anything to that. So there was a level of bravery, maybe / insanity that was going on there, but you made it out.
Ignorance. That's what it was. And I
don't think it was ignorance. I think you had a question, and I'm one for it's Mental Health Month for me, and I think that when you expressed it in that way, you asked the question because you wanted to know. You heard so much glorious things about our hair. It kind of your mind, like, if the hair is so great and we should appreciate, why are we doing something different to the stuff that's growing out of our head? So I think you had a legitimate question. And as Black women, we are sensitive about our hair. We are very sensitive about our hair. And the phrase good hair, bad hair, I never liked that phrase. Because I've heard it my whole life.
Yes.
And I'm from Barbados. So you know it's real and raw in in the island. It's real and it's very raw. They will tell you your
Mhm.
hair is knotty from little. I can't do anything with that.
Yes.
So I do understand you asking that question, and you know, and it calls for a pause. You had to really pause and think about it. Like, why am I really doing this?
Mhm.
Exactly.
So I really think it was a really good question. And if more Black men would turn to their wife or their girlfriends or their loved ones and say, like, why are you really doing that?
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah.
And
In
we,
that caring, loving way.
and we did have book was all the rage back then. I mean, we did. I had got a lot of press about it because it was a different topic, one
Yeah.
that was not spoken out in public a lot. And we met so many. I mean, it was so beautiful in the sense that we met so many women who and men after reading the book and digesting what the information that we put into the book, they decided to start wearing their hair natural. I mean, we right come out. We've heard this countless
Yeah.
times, and
We've
and,
had. Mhm.
and the husbands, the way they talk about women and the Black women's hair, that that was the key for a lot of women. Some men said to their Black wives, "I don't want you to wear your hair natural hair,"
Mhm.
and they didn't,
Mhm.
and that was a big hindrance to them wanting to do it. So it's just so many layers to this topic. We can spend
Right.
2 days talking about this.
Yeah. To add to that, we've had women who read the book and cut their hair off immediately.
Mhm.
One case was when we spoke at a church in, I think it was in Brooklyn. And a couple of weeks later, I came home and Janice said, some guy called you from New York, you know. And I was like, what the heck is this about? Something about his wife, right? I'm like, what is this about, right? And so we got on the phone and he said, you guys, y'all wrote this book, right, about the hair thing, right? I said, yeah. He said, well, I just called because I want to thank you all because I've been trying to get my wife to wear her hair natural for years. And she read your book and I came home, she had cut her hair off and gone natural. Now that's not the ordinary. I teach African American studies at the colleges. And so I've had students. I remember this one young lady in particular, she just gave me I am not going to ever wear my hair like that. It's ugly, yada, yada, yada. About 5 years later, I was walking across campus and she looked and said, hey, Professor Kenyatta. I was like, I forget her name now. She said, yeah, it's me. I said, you got she had a nice fro, right? So I was like, she said, yeah. And she said the thing and this is what we hear over and over, that question, because I would ask the question in the class, why do you straighten your hair? And she said, I could not get away from that question. Every time I would look in the mirror, that question just haunted me. And so it goes the stratum of people. Everyone has their journey. That's what it boils down to, what you started talking about. Some get there quicker, some don't, some never do.
Yeah. And I should also mention too to the audience, if anyone's listening, in terms of white women, we've also had engagements with white women who had very curly hair. You know, their hair is curly too, some of them, and they would be ridiculed as children because their hair was not straight like the European aesthetic, the long hair, you know, and they were accused. I mean, teased and all that. And also a lot of them told me they would literally, to get away from that teasing, would iron their hair on the ironing board. These are white women.
Yeah.
And also this applies to biracial children. Biracial have that really mixed type of hair, partly curly, partly straight or whatever. And they were ashamed of it. So this subject, it hits everybody just about.
We've had people from Germany, from the Netherlands, and so forth that have gotten in touch with us, the islands, different parts of the world. But yeah, the most surprising thing, by the time we did the second edition, because we weren't writing it to white people, was the number of white people who we did come in contact with, like Janice said, that would share their story. In fact, the first newspaper interview we had was with a woman. I don't know if you remember, Janice. She was talking about, she had real curly hair.
Mhm.
And she said she thanked us for the book. She was intrigued by the book. But the other piece was the women who have children, biracial children, and they want to know how to take care of the children's hair without, because they were dumbfounded in many cases.
I love it. You know, one thing I want to add to that, and this was my experience from reading the book. Of course, recommendations. You open the book and you're like, yeah, this is great. Oh, this is wonderful with the information that was there. But one of the things that I found so personable about the book was you all wrote about my individual hair journey. So it felt like a hair biography, so to speak. So, you know, we had the Easter evening straightening the hair with the straightening combs to the Jerry curl. I was one of them. East Orange, New Jersey. We was dripping all over the place. I promise.
Same.
To the wrap, to the
couches everywhere.
I promise. Like, and so reading this stuff and even the questions that were in the book and how, you know, it was developed to go about getting the answers. I promise I can't remember what page it was, but I recall it was before probably chapter 5 where I got to a point where it was like, I can't answer the question of why do I do this? Like, Janice, I didn't even have because my mother did it, because somebody said sit in the chair. I had no answer. And it was like, okay, well, I got to think about this, because after seeing other people's accounts, it's like, nope, that ain't it for me. What else? Like, and so having the reflective portion of this was so important to me as a reader. You know, when we think about, yeah, we're reading the title, Black Hair Folks, got it, but secrets, shame, and liberation, right? That part of our journey that we said, I'm not doing this. Like this is not for me. And I recall just my personal journey. It gave me the opportunity to reminisce, to see all of the different phases of hair and what that meant to me. And even my husband and I have been married for 2 years, and he is a natural hair. He's like, I want to come home to you. I don't know who that is with, you know, with all that other hair. Now, every now and then I have to tell him, cut it out, because I'm going to get some braids. I'm going to get something else. But he really does not like it. But he knew how to approach me, right? So, Rhonda, from what you say, and it's like, this could be whatever now. Don't come over here wrong. So I do appreciate, you know, the thoughtfulness and how much each of the chapters kind of, you know, celebrated that, even to the fact, and then I say before chapter 5, because here's what chapter 5 did for me. I think that was the chapter where we talked about, I'm not going to get a job with my natural hair.
Yes,
right.
That's a big one.
So I experienced that personally. I went and I got my silk press when I came down here to North Carolina, because I wasn't sure, right? Well, I wasn't sure. But I recall other people going through the hiring process. And I had one person in particular who's still on my team. She had wore her hair straight the same. She said, y'all natural hair? This is wonderful. Like, I don't have to be bothered with all of this extra. She said, I'm going home, take this stuff out right now. Now, she didn't even know whether she got the job at that time, but she was excited about the fact that her natural state of her hair would be celebrated. And so all of that to say, you know, we're 30 years in. Now we've got the Crown Act, right? In many of our organizations and corporations that say, leave me and my hair alone. When you all kind of was doing all of this, was that even a thought for you all? Like how does that, seeing this kind of relevance still be here today, how has that continued to impact, you know, your conversations about the book?
Well, you know, one of the things that was going on at the time was with the cosmetologists who were doing natural hair, and the industry was giving them a hard time. They wouldn't license them, or they wouldn't they had to go through legislation to be able to say that this was legitimate, and that was a big fight back in the late 90s, early 200s, and so forth. And there were a lot of women. They have books as well who waged that battle, so that the salons, the natural hair care salons, would be legitimate, so to speak. That's one of the things that I've seen now that I guess people don't even think about that because it's so normal in a lot of cases. Can you think of anything else?
And I wanted to piggyback on what you were just to add a footnote to what you said, Karen, about this woman who was so happy to see the natural hair. That's why we want part of the book is called Liberation, because it is truly a liberating feeling to be able to wear your hair naturally without fear of what someone thinks about you when you go to work. And so one of the implications to your point that is a couple of things you brought to mind when you spoke. One is I saw a video just last week, a reel on someplace, TikTok or somewhere. And this Black woman, she was clearly married to a white guy. And she was looking in the mirror at her she had a big fro, her natural natural hair. And she was patting and she was smiling and just like really full of herself. Her white husband came into the bathroom and saw it, and she turned around. He said, "Oh my God, you are gorgeous. Why have you been hiding this?" He loved. I mean, I wish I could have just saved it, but he said, "Your hair is just gorgeous. Why have you not been wearing your hair like this?" And so, a lot of times you'll see that where other people of other races or other ethnic backgrounds. You're so concerned about how they feel about you, and they want what you have. They like what you have, and we're so concerned about, pleasing them. I always get upset when I hear women say, and I don't hear it as much anymore, but it's still out there, where they get married or they take professional pictures. Oh, I got to straighten my hair, because they think that this is not professional, or they think it's not pretty.
Yeah.
They don't see themselves as pretty with their natural hair. So we got to get our women to embrace that you are beautiful, you are pretty, even in this year 2025, especially the young, especially some of the young people.
Yeah, one of the things that we used to do along those lines in the initial book, we had pictures of women with different, with the locks, with the braids, with the bald heads, the different, so that you can see that it was a beautiful thing. And then later on with the website, when we could really expand it, we would show them, because people would say, well, for example, with locks, oh, I can't do anything with that. And we showed them the pictures. I mean, there are so many beautiful, elegant styles that are available. The options are endless. Like Janice, for example, her journey, she started with the braids, and then she wore locks. She wore locks for about
18 years. I wore locks.
18 years.
Long locks.
Then she went to the natural. She was with the natural. Now she had a little smaller fro. Now she's down to the smaller. So it's
the TWA. I love my TWA.
That's right, TWA in action.
Yep, TWA.
TWA Afro. I love it. For a busy person like me, this rocks.
It works. It works. I have to hop off in a minute, but I just want to share and go back to something that Kamal spoke about earlier, how a gentleman from New York called because sister at church cut her hair, and he was so grateful. I promise you, I share a similar testimony. During pandemic, people couldn't get their hair done, and a lot of women started to go natural. One of my very close sister friends from church, she was talking to me because she recognized I've been wearing my hair big, small, little, whatever. It's been natural, with the exception of braids occasionally. And she was talking to me, and I was giving her some tips and some products that I use. But then I described to her what I experience when I comb my hair. And I shared with her, and I hope this resonates with someone in the listening audience. When I comb my hair, I am worshiping God, because my hair is fearfully and wonderfully made. It can curl. If I brush it just right, it'll be straight. If it gets wet while I have a little bit of a curl activator in my hair, baby, my curls are popping. So
Mhm.
I believe it was chapter
Mhm.
2 that captured me when it started to talk about how the hair grows out of the follicle and it has
Yeah.
hooks and it
Mhm.
has waves and it has dips.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
read my worship and how I
Mhm.
view my hair as
Mhm.
I was reading that chapter. So, yes, like we always refer to ourselves as kings and queens, especially in our naturality. Listen, it
Yeah.
really is worship because I believe you also wrote that our hair grows towards the sun.
Yeah, it's a spiritual element to
Yes,
our connection to the
very
universe with
spiritual.
our hair. That piece, and I got that piece from my mentors because they had part of it in their book at the time. But because no one ever sits us down and really explained to us about how
Right.
our hair actually works. Why does it get, as we say, knotty? And so, but it's a beautiful thing, it's growing up, and then you have these tendrils that lock onto each other, and they weave um, over a period of time. And we also have pointed out the comb, what is known as the comb, the European comb, of people who it was designed for people with straight hair. But when we try to use that for this stuff here, it like fights it. It's like, nah, we'll break you before you break us. Um, so because of the enslavement of our people, we weren't able to bring our grooming utensils with us, and so they had to make do. And we went through a bunch of changes.
Yeah.
Um, and as time passes, we're getting closer and closer back to ourselves.
Yes, yes. But at this
Um,
point, what I want to emphasize for me, which is why I wrote my second book, The Children,
Yes.
Right, right.
because all we're talking about should be taught and encouraged and motivated when our kids are in our homes and they are children, whether you're a parent, a guardian, a grandmother, a grandfather. We have to teach our kids to love what our natural features,
Mhm.
including our hair. So many of us are, I mean, we have role models that straighten their hair, and by the time they get 13, 14, they want to do the same thing. It's just like I said, it becomes cyclical or whatever. And that's why I wrote the book, Just As It Is, which talks about a family, a Black mother and father, who encouraged their young daughter, Abina, to love her natural features, including her hair. And the second part of that book is to encourage us to respect the differences, children to respect the differences in other ethnic and cultural backgrounds. Uh, in our culture, we do that a lot, but a lot of cultures don't do that. So the book is just not for us, it's for everybody.
Right.
Teach their children to love themselves, but at the same time to respect the differences in others. If we did that more, this would be a completely different society.
Do you have
I
the dog?
agree.
Do you have the
I
dog with
agree.
you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I also
With the
designed
dog.
there being the doll.
Oh,
There being the doll. I
Oh,
gotta get it right, which is the image of my main character.
love it.
oh, nice.
Yeah. So
Very
yes,
nice.
we call her the self-love companion doll. That's what I call.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love the self-love, and that's one of the things when I was reading the book, well,
Mhm.
both books, the self-love. You mentioned that yes, women walk around and we say we love ourselves by the way we dress, we carry ourselves, but when you look at the hair, it's straight. How is that self-love? And we're professionals, we are growing in our professions, we're growing in our professions, we've reached the top of the ladder, but here we are with wigs and straight hair. Like, why do we
Mhm.
need to cover
Mhm.
our natural hair when we are in certain surroundings? Like, we are ashamed of ourselves because
Yes,
we are
we are.
we truly have not developed that self-love. And that was my change. My
Mhm.
daughter wanted straight hair. We moved to the suburbs, we're rural,
Mhm.
and all her friends had straight hair, and hers was curly. She
Yep.
wanted that straight hair. I
Mhm.
gave it to her. When the rain fell, it puffed back up, and she was embarrassed. She was like,
Yeah.
"Why did my hair do this?" And I said, "Because I told you your hair is not naturally straight. It has to be curly. And if you want to bend it, I describe it like spaghetti." I told her, when spaghetti is dry, it's straight. As soon as it get wet, it curls back up.
Mhm.
And she was like, oh, because she couldn't understand what I was explaining to her, but she liked pasta. So I had to describe it in the format of pasta. So when she said that, that was my move to cut off my straight hair, because she was like, Mommy, but your hair is straight. So I'm telling my daughter to
Right.
be proud of her curls, her natural hair. But
Love
here I am walking around with straight hair. So in 2009 or before that, I cut everything off and I
Mhm.
went natural and I've never looked back.
Yeah.
And I was like, why didn't I do this earlier? Why didn't I know better? Because
Didn't
I
know.
love my hair.
You
That's when I
you
discovered.
echoing what we've heard people say over and over again.
Yeah.
Why did I wait
Yes,
so long?
Yes.
You know?
yes.
Yeah.
It goes in your head and it stays with you. And that was when I discovered the beginning of self-love, true self-love. So now
Absolutely.
I'm so full of my love for myself, that I would never, I don't even want heat near my head.
I feel the same
No
way.
heat.
I will never go back to straightening my hair ever. I have I've been natural 30 years now. I will never change. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it.
So I
Yeah.
love the book. I love the fact that the book was the self-awareness. As you read, the self-awareness in every chapter hit just on point. I took the questionnaire at the back. I
Mhm.
did take that questionnaire, I wrote in the book, and I took that, and it made me realize, like, more girls, more young girls, more women need to really sit down and have this reflection of,
Reflect.
what are you doing to yourself?
Yeah.
What are you really doing to yourself from your head to your toes?
Absolutely.
Because you're taking care of everything else but up here.
Yeah.
So I
Literally up there.
really, really love that in the book.
That's an excellent way of putting it. The way you said, absolutely.
I love that. And you know, Janice, the one thing about the children's book is I'm looking into it, so now I got something else to grab onto. Because I have a bunch of grandchildren, right? Literally. I have 11. My husband has 2, so we literally have a baker's dozen at this point. But I love the fact
Oh, God, you look like you about 35. You got grandkids.
hey, keep turning that tongue.
Did you say you have 11 children?
I have 11 grandchildren. Yes. So I
Wow.
started with 5. So I have 5 children, and they learn that lesson. How about what we tell them? They like, well, you started with a lot, so we gonna have a lot too.
Okay.
And it keeps on going. But I love the focus on the children's book, and this is a point that I want to highlight, is what you mentioned about starting the conversation about how hair and not just hair, about how people come in all different shapes and sizes across the world, because some of the questions feel like bullying because they're asked in public versus having a private conversation where we can kind of instill some values, some additional I don't know if softness is the word, some empathy in a listen. What you see, you have the space to question, you have the liberation to question, but some of that stuff is for the kids to get a better understanding of who they are, right? So I think that was one of the connections that I saw with the book for the grown folks, but also in the illustrations and the story for the children as well.
And that was by design, because I did hear before I wrote the children's book, the impetus, other than, you know, writing the book for the adults, was I did hear when I was a high school teacher, I did hear a young lady say, I hate my hair. She literally said, a young Black girl, I hate my hair. I think our hair is a curse. Right? And that's when I went home and said to Kamal, I said, I'm writing a children's book. I actually, little known fact, this book was written 25 years ago.
Wow.
Manuscript.
Yeah.
The manuscript was written, and I forgot that I wrote it because life got in the way, and we built this house up here, blah blah blah. When we got separated, and he went to his place, I went to my place, and he looked in the box. He found the manuscript. He said, "Do you know you finished that book just as I said?"
I was like, this is you got to publish this.
Yes.
Yes.
I didn't know I finished that book. I only did half of it. He said, "No,
It's done."
Yes, it was in the attic, in a box of his things. I don't know why. And so that was in 2021. And so I got an illustrator.
Well, we know why. Because it might have still been sitting there if he didn't.
We know why.
Yeah.
You know, I
Yeah.
call it divine intervention. I
Absolutely.
clearly say it's
Mhm.
divine intervention. That's what came
Absolutely.
into my life in 20. That manuscript came back into my life in
Mm-hmm.
2021. Within a year, I had it illustrated, published,
Awesome.
and it made the doll a puzzle. And my motivation, just for the listening audience, just so you know, my purpose and passion is to educate, encourage, and inspire. And if it has to start with the little children, that's where I wanted to start. Sometimes the old heads are hard to get to.
Mm,
If I inspire them, so
No pun intended.
but I do believe the love of oneself has to start when we're children, and it has to come from your parents or your guardian.
Yeah, and we're seeing that. Think about it. We started with the natural hair, and our daughters, as Janice pointed out, they've worn their hair natural all their lives, except for Aaliyah, the oldest one. When she was in college for a semester, she came home and she had straightened her hair with the lag.
It didn't last.
And she hated it. She's like, I'll never do this again. But now she has twin daughters, and they wear their hair now. They don't know any different because
right.
they see Janice with that. They see their mother. They see their aunt. And many other people in our lives who wear that. They don't even think of give it a second thought. You know?
I've seen women putting relaxers in 3-year-old children's little girls' hair. It's so sad. What kind of message are you giving that child to put a relaxer in their hair at 3, 4, and 5 years old?
Yeah, and the other part of it, what we talk about in the book, is the health issue. The health and the economic pieces, because we are not intended to do that particular part of it. But the woman, particularly with the health part, but the woman who helped Janice when she was making the transition, Sister Johnny, she talked about the effects that the chemicals had on people and why she went natural years before, and how the chemicals that are being put into the hair, how it affects women, particularly Black women. And there are no studies done on this. A lot of the sicknesses that they have because of those.
There's lawsuits now against that. Yeah. The studies have been proving that Black women have more of a chance to get cancer, to certain types of tumors, by the lye and chemicals that go and seep into their body from hair relaxers. So that's a thing now.
Yeah, and part of the, I think, significance of this book and the resurfacing and why it's important to us and why it should be important. So for our listeners, this should be important to you, is because part of what you say about the shame, and I say this for me, I used to relax my hair, get to my big old age of the age I am, and now it's, well, you're suffering with fibroids. You've got very strong menstrual cycles, and nobody seems to know what to do. And I suffer for many years in silence with endometriosis and all of those things because we don't start here with the conversation, right? So this conversation can actually lead us to be liberated to talk more openly about all of the other effects of the things that I suffered in silence because nobody was talking about it. Nobody said that there was a possible connection. The doctors didn't know what was going on enough to be able to tell something. But then as my story started to be shared with those in my circle of influence, the same type of thing. Those other people is like, well, I'm dealing with this too. Well, what did you do? Well, what did you do? And so being able to understand that community, right? That tribe, and how we can support one another. And it's got to start with the portion of the conversation, even if it's difficult to, as a conversation starter, at least to start us talking, right? About we're not going to get out of May. Rhonda is a mental health advocate. So you better believe we're going to be talking about that this month. But it's also something that when you're isolated, right? When you're feeling that shame, there's no way for you to be liberated because there's nobody else to come alongside you. And so the importance of this book, and even me seeing myself and each of us seeing ourselves and understanding that journey, somebody had to get the knowledge out there to us so that we could continue the conversation and say, I didn't really know about that. So I got a couple of things that I want to research a bit more. I think even the labeling that you were talking about and understanding that this was, a book that was in process for so many different years that we read the labels. We didn't understand what it was that we were reading. Even when they said, no lie relaxes, and we believe.
Yeah, it was a lie.
We believe
It was a lie.
bamboozled.
Yeah, that shocked us when we were doing the research. I was talking to the stylists and so forth, and they would say that there is no such thing as a no lie relaxer. They got it; it's in there. They got another name.
And then they have another one they call texturizer. When black women have,
Yes.
have a little softness to their hair, they put a texturizer. That's lie in that as well. That's chemical. Those are chemicals.
Mm-hmm.
And you can say a lot of things, but you shake your head because it's like we want to believe the industry, we want to support the industry, and certain people, y'all want to straighten your hair for whatever reason, y'all keep on doing that. But then when we see these reports where it was like I was trying to choose the right thing for me, right? So I didn't want those chemicals in me, but yeah, I want a little zhuzh in my hair. Now I understand that we have to be thinking about how to reframe those vanity moments, is what I call them.
Part of that, which is very interesting about the lie, and we related in the book. This is why it's important for us to know our history and understand certain things. It actually started as a punishment to the enslaved. Our enslaved ancestors, they would put a bucket of water, and to punish with lye in it, and a punishment, they would push their heads into this thing. If you know anything about lye, it's corrosive, it burns.
Yes.
And what it did incidentally was straighten the hair. And being the geniuses that we are, and it was men who first started putting axle grease in the hair and straightening it. And people, when they first saw that, they would say on the plantation, "Oh, you trying to be like Master Johnson," or something like, "Oh, you trying to be like Miss Ann." We knew then clearly what was going on.
Right.
But then pass on and see, we don't know that history. We think, "Oh, I'm just doing it for the style. It's easy to manage, and so forth and so on." But that lie piece, and now that brings up the money part. Who's making the money on this? Somebody outside of our community looked in and saw, hey, we could make some money on this stuff. They're making it's a $1 billion industry, and we basically shut out of it.
Yeah. And read those labels, because a lot of us we still want to support ethnically owned, black owned businesses, and to find out that many of the brands that we think we're supporting, and so I get it, we all want a payday, we get it, but there is a difference, right? When we understand it's almost that do no harm, and so being able to read the labels, see what is important to you. And I love it that you shared that piece of history, Kamal, because that was the first time I had ever heard that. Not that I know everything, but it was like one of those moments that I don't even think that I ever thought, like, well, how did this come about? Right? We think of Madam CJ Walker and we good. Like, not that portion of our history to know what it was. And then if you understand it was a punishment, like, wow, right? Wow. Because are we not punishing ourselves in the same kind of aspect of I'm taking on that, not knowing it's a punishment, but there is a punishment because I'm killing the curl in my hair. It's got health effects that is going on and on. So such a deeper message when we sit in even just what you share with that. So kudos to you both. Appreciate just all of the wisdom that you share. Rhonda, I don't want to take it all over. Any questions for you?
Well, I just want to add to what you said too, that when I went natural, I tried to get black owned products because I felt like only a person that looks like me could understand what it takes to keep my hair healthy. And that was the route I took. I said, if I'm going to be healthy, I need healthy things in my hair. So, yes, I can tell you, I tried nearly every brand of hair product. I was a product junkie. I tried everything. And after I realized that some of the products weren't working anymore, only to research more and see that they were bought out by Caucasian companies. Therefore, the stuff that was going into them weren't working anymore because it wasn't organic or natural anymore. It was chemicals again. Here we go with the chemicals. So I was on a path to just buy black owned. Anything that somebody was making in their kitchen that they own themselves, that's what I purchased. So for the last couple of years, I've been using the natural products, natural oils. I try not to invest so much in commercial products. And I love that you listed the companies that were fully black owned and those that we thought was black owned but really wasn't. And I know there's more to that list now because the book has been out for a while now. So there's more to that list. And I thank you so much for listing that because I'm going to pass on this book to my two daughters. They are natural. They never want to, they don't want to change their hair texture. They are fine the way they are because I taught them how to love themselves from head to toe. So nothing about them they want to change. They are who they are and God made you this way. And this is the way that you will be. So one of my questions that I have for you, when I was reading the book, you were talking, you went way back, you went way back to the times when we were in the Jerry Curls. We were in the Jerry Curl season and men were actually using the product too because I had a Jerry Curl. You went all the way back to the Jerry Curl and you focused on men. Was there a reason why you turned that you turned the book to focus on men at that point?
Well, because as I pointed out during the slavery, it was actually black men who were the first to start straightening their hair, but then it changed over time. Then you had in the 1970s, 60s, and 70s, the Afro, black men and women were wearing them. But there is a little period, a slither of our history that most people forget about before the Jerry Curl. It was a period where black men were just straightening their hair permanent and had it hanging down and so forth. If you go back and look at the movie Superfly,
yes,
you see it in there. And then the Jerry Curl came out because all of us, black men and women, have a bad relationship with our hair. However, men somehow or another, it was not seen as bad as women because women got it from every kind of angle. You know, they were just trying to make themselves feel good. This is what you have to understand. That's why I say it's a sensitive subject. I make kind of light of it, but it's not funny. They were really trying to find ways to make themselves feel human. That was what, because they had been dehumanized in so many ways. And this is one of the ways in which they felt that they could be recognized as human, even though it was taking them away from themselves. So we understand that particular piece. Men, and then of course we all were conditioned to see these standards that they had. And part of the problem, I forget who was saying it earlier, men wanted to see that straight hair look on their women. And so many women attempting to satisfy their husband, their boyfriend, or their fathers, or whoever, that's what they thought they liked. So they tried to do that. So black men were part of the problem. And some of them still are who will say that. So, but many of them, as we found, they love the natural hair. Once they see it, and they love it. But we didn't focus on the men because.
Well, you talked about James Brown and
yeah. With the entertainers, if you go back to the 60s, they straightened their hair. Little Richard and all of those guys, they straightened their hair. And Malcolm
Black
X,
and proud, right? Black and proud.
Black and
Yep.
Proud.
Right?
Yeah. Malcolm X talks about, and I think I had the quote in the book where Malcolm X talks about in his early, as a young man, he would get his hair straightened, and he said he was in there enduring all that pain just to get his hair to look like a white man's hair. And he said, when I've seen some of our people are still doing that.
Yeah. But here's an interesting fact to think about. I think Kamal, one of your students, when you give the book as an assignment and they have to do a paper, one of your students, I remember this from years ago, one of your students, a male Black student, said that he had never, I'm getting it. It's two things. One is he said he had never seen his mother's natural hair ever.
Right.
He didn't even know that's what her hair looked like from the time
he was shocked. He was shocked. He said
that was her hair. Yeah.
Right.
Then there was another, which I think is very sad. But then another instance was where a white child, I don't know if this was told to me, he was shocked when he saw like a woman with Black woman like us with our natural hair. He was so surprised that our hair looked like the Black men's hair, because he's so used to seeing Black women with straight hair, thinking that's their natural hair.
Right.
And then when he saw women with natural hair, he said, "Oh, they have the same hair as their husbands." That he was very surprised by that.
Yeah.
That's the way it is and the way it was.
There's many layers to this, and it springs off into a variety of other topics that's related to our community. And I remember when we first wrote the book, people would ask, "Why are y'all writing a book about hair? We got all these other problems and issues to deal with." And my response was, if we can't deal with this with what we got under our own control, we can't get clear about this, then how are we going to get clear about all these other things? We got to start with, as I said, the love, charity starts at home here. We got to love ourselves first. All of ourselves, not just some of ourselves.
That's right.
And the way a woman wears her hair, it's been my experience, is a direct manifestation of the way she feels about herself. And some women will argue with that, but my observations in writing this book and seeing so many different women, it's in my DNA to analyze this subject. I mean, I'm always analyzing. And I know that the way a woman wears her hair is a direct manifestation of the way she internally feels about herself.
I agree.
What's happening, going back to, I can't blame the sisters. I don't blame the sisters who do it, because I know that they're trying to feel good about themselves. And this is the only thing that the majority of what they have learned about how to feel good about themselves, until somebody comes in and what's that thing they would call your intervention?
Yes. That's it.
What they do when they were kidnapping people?
The world.
That's the intervention.
Yeah. The intervention happens, and then they're able to weigh the options. They don't feel that they have any other options at that point.
Yeah. So it's a deep subject, y'all. That's all I can say. It's very deep.
Well, we appreciate it. And we were not joking. We love learning over here on this platform. And so you've given us our geek out moment today by giving us the deeper connection, right, with each of our personal journeys, but also to hear the history, because we know that whether we agree with the state of the world or not, that our stories, our history are so very important. So we appreciate the two of you for this collaboration over these many years, and the historical relevance and cultural relevance that really holds true in what it is we were able to see in your writing. I enjoyed it. We are just over the moon, and we want to know, right, if where and how we can connect with curriculum behind this, because this conversation we started today, right, just as entertaining, and we've already covered mental health, physical health, spiritual well-being. We've covered
Self-love.
economic and
Self-love.
love and
Financial.
and so many different aspects to it that we want more. Okay, maybe we said what we said, but as those opportunities come, we would love to hear more about how we can connect with either deeper conversations or just how we can impact our communities with this, because not only is this an important subject, as we've already mentioned, and I'm sure you all have experienced individually, like there's so much healing that can come when these conversations are able to get past like that first.
Yes.
Why do you wear your hair like that? Like it's a powerful statement, but a huge discussion starter. So I appreciate you both.
What I'm doing, but I taught African American, and I think somebody said they live in Patterson. I taught at Wynn Patterson University for years in the African Studies department. But I started doing something at the urging of my daughter to get on the TikTok because she said, "Dad, there's so many people on there with just junk." She said, "You can go on there," and so she convinced me to go on there this past Black History Month. And each day I would do something, and I got like over almost 12,000 followers in a month.
Love it.
And I've been looking to develop a systematic course, and put it online, and that's what I'm in the process of doing, because it addresses this as well as a ton of other information, because usually there's not a systematic way that we learn our history. We get a little bit here, a little bit there, and then people just repeat what they hear. They don't know whether it's really true or not, but it becomes the truth. And so I've developed, and I've been doing this for years, but I'm just putting it in an online way that people can do it. So I'll be doing that.
Well, you should tell them. So far, you're on TikTok doing this, right?
Yeah, I'm on TikTok, but I'm creating this other piece. I got my website, professorkenyatta.com, and that basically guides them over to TikTok. And I have lessons over there that are prerequisites before you do anything else with me, because you got to get these things down before we get into deeper stuff.
Yes, and on my end, I love going. If anybody's listening to this or know anyone who's connected, I love going into schools to the younger grades, and I love doing self-affirmations with students, young children, to help them realize and be aware of their natural features and that kind of stuff. So please, that's my mission, to get the word out, to deal with the children.
And I should say, you should see the videos and film when she goes into the schools with the children. And these children are like, they're eating this stuff up. And I think that's a great service that our children need to see. Not all children, because she goes to different kinds of schools, but affirming that.
Absolutely.
Anybody else, somebody come speak at that school, Janice Kenyatta is the person to do it.
Yep.
Well, definitely appreciate the mutual support that you all are sharing for one another, and this amazing work that you continue to contribute to. For our replay viewers, for our listening audience, for those that are here with us tonight, you've heard it. We've got JaniceKenyatta.com and ProfessorKenyatta.com going on their websites. I got the addresses because I done peeked on over there. Y'all know I can't wait. I'm nosy in the moment. And so there is some great relevant information, and make sure that you get tapped in so that you can stay connected. If you enjoyed this conversation, to hear more what our guests have to share on these subjects and many others. What the world needs now is more of this, y'all. And so we appreciate both of you individually, but also collectively, for the time, for the work that you put into this, because it definitely shows, right? And we love to celebrate excellence here, and you both came in. We appreciate you both saying yes to coming on our platform, to joining in with this conversation, and reminding us, right, the best parts of our about us, that we get to celebrate liberation. So thank you for that. Thank you for your time. And I know we've got a little bit more show left, but we appreciate. We're going to take just a quick moment moment to shift, but wanted to say thank you to both of you.
Thank you.
And Rhonda and I's gonna cut up, so we're not gonna have no
I'm
nobody to
grateful.
record because
I'm so
Keita
thankful.
busy right now. So we may for the next 30 minutes just act up.
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes. But definitely appreciate both of you,
Yeah.
Janice and Kamal. We expect to just continue to grow and stay connected with both of you.
Yeah.
Heartfelt appreciation. I know that Tilted is just losing her mind, not being able to
Yes,
stay
she is.
here in this conversation because she has been anticipating this, but you know, as opportunities come, we salute our hat to her for trusting us. So
Yeah.
hopefully you felt welcome. You felt
We did.
you're
Absolutely.
appreciated.
Thank you for allowing us this platform to just educate our people. That's
Thank you.
all I ask. Thank
Yes,
you.
yes.
And
Thank you.
inspire.
Karen,
Yes, and inspire and motivate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, and the
Karen,
younger, the
Keita,
better
and
we
Rhonda.
start.
Pardon me, Rhonda?
I said, and the younger, the better that we start, because
Yes.
we've seen that a lot of the younger ones, 3, 4 years old, are wearing lace fronts and straight hair ready. They want the straight hair. And if we can
Yeah.
start early with the young kids, we can
Yes.
avoid a lot of mental trauma. We can
Mhm.
Yes.
avoid a lot of physical trauma as well.
Yes.
So
All right.
yep.
Absolutely.
Deep
Thank you
stuff.
guys so much.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Have a good night.
You too.
You too.
All
Hi,
right. So
Karen.
listen.
That was really, really great. And I am beating up myself because the fact that I had so many notes in my book. I have notes all in my book. And I was so mad that I didn't want to run inside because I don't know if my husband is working, but there was so many notes because the fact that this book is the self-awareness. Every
Yes.
time you turn a chapter, there was so much stuff for you to like digest and question and answer. And it was just amazing. That book, oh my God, it opened up my eyes to so many things. The
Yeah.
history, the trauma, the reason why we do it, it was packed with so much stuff. And I think she said layers. There's so much layers to that book.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to read the first 2 books.
Yes, appreciate it. And I love the fact that, you know, this was pre-show that we just learned that this was a project 30 years in the making, right? And so
Unbelievable.
as we unpack all of those things, like it's so much. And I'm grateful that we had this conversation. You know, we're going to continue to have snippets of this. And now, Rhonda, you know what the challenge is. We got to figure out what our next read is. Because yes, we read
Yes.
over here, y'all. We are reading and educating ourselves, but also educating our families and our children to make sure that history is still being preserved. I think that's a big portion of it. Now, Rhonda, we didn't get too much into it, but you know, I know you was bouncing from here to there and booked and blessed yourself. But I wonder if you want to share with our audience a nugget. It is May. We got a few more weeks in this month as we are highlighting mental health awareness. What nuggets you might want to share with our audience this evening?
Well, thank you so much, Karen. Yes, May is Mental Health Month. And what I'm going to share with you and focus on is self-care. And I know we talk about self-care whenever we get on here with the tribe, we talk about self-care, but a lot of people are not really understanding the depth of self-care, how deep self-care goes mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. Um, you're not understanding how self-care really works and hits all those dimensions. And this month, I challenge everybody to 31 days of connection and growth. And I hope that you're actually going through that calendar and writing down the things that you're planning out for your own self-care. I'm actually developing a workshop for work on self-care for our workers because you don't realize how many things you think about, you do, your actions, your behaviors, because you're not rested. Second, you are overwork. 3, there are too many problems in the world and you can't take care of all of them. And as mothers, as wife, as sisters, as aunts, as all the hats that we mothers wear, it is important that you stop. You take that deep breath. I know people laugh at me when I say to breathe. I was like, that's not the type of breathing I'm talking about.
Right.
And sometimes it's not that even that physical breath, but just a pause. Just stop. Stop. Take that breath. Close your eyes. Close your eyes for a minute and refocus before you do everything else. And when you do that, you will see how you refresh you will be. And it doesn't mean that you go back and start doing everything all over again. That is the time that you take for yourself to reconnect with everything that you just lost. You bring it back in. I love grounding. That's why I couldn't wait till winter was done so I can step on the grass, the green grass, and ground myself because it just feels so good. Growing up as a kid, my mom would say, don't go outside barefoot, don't go outside barefoot. But there is health in grounding.
Yeah.
And again, if you can't breathe, step outside and ground. If you don't have grass, sand does it as well. If you don't like sand, go in the mud, carpet, just do something that brings you back into focus. And that's it. My stuff this month is just self-care, just for you to take care of yourself. It is needed so much in this world where there's chaos every day and you're watching the news and you're seeing everything and it's all being kept in here. You got to let it out.
You do.
Let it
You
go.
do. I appreciate that. And you know, I'm coming following right after you. Tilted is gonna be upset. You know why? She gonna have to catch the replay, right?
Yeah.
For this next segment of Reflections of Purpose. And so I love that we tag team and you know you my birthday twin, and I'm
Oh
about
yeah.
to get into it. Here we go. So, as always, I come to you all with the title. It's that time of the show where we come to you with our reflections of purpose from Coach Cash of Twisted Threads. And today we want to remind you, be your own medicine. Yup, I'm right in line and in step with my sister, Regal Rhonda, all of the things. But we want to remind you, how are you able to be your own medicine? Well, many of us are waiting for the world to be an answer to us when we're already the answer to our own selves. And being our own medicine means we get the opportunity to heal our hearts, to create parameters in different places to say, this is good for me, this is a no for me, and then stick to it. Some of us do not understand the effects of stress and how stress will literally kill you. This is no joke. I have people who are very close to me who seem to be continuing to see sickness every single week. And so I had to start that conversation, right? These are, they started out as one thing and now they're clients and they know, all right, let's have a conversation with Coach Cash. Why? Because I'm noticing something that you're allowing to happen, right? And so worry will seep into your mind and literally it'll eat your insides and not in a good way. So we got to learn how to rest. When Regal Rhonda talks about self-care, many of us don't know how to do it. Can we just have a transparent moment? You think that the words are foreign because you don't know how. Breathe it. Get yourself near some water. I took a break on Friday, just took a day off. I didn't get a chance to get to the beach, but I sat by the lake. Why? Because the air is fresher over there. Sat by the lake and just did nothing. Allowed my mind to empty. Why? Because you're looking for direction, you're looking for new thoughts, but you're overstimulated. Right? And you're overwhelmed with what you may be experiencing. And so taking those breathing moments, as Rhonda already mentioned, is allowing you to be your own medicine. But here's the thing. Right after you self-medicate with some rest, right after you self-medicate with maybe turning the news off, we're letting that boss know you can't stay till 7. He could get you from 9 to 5:30, but you out. And if he wants you to stay from 9 to 6, I'm gonna need 30 minutes to get my tail outside so I can seep in some of this sunshine, so I can seep in some of this extra. And then here's the deal. The final thing that I'll remind you for you being your own medicine, make sure you're pouring into someone else. And if you're doing it correctly, you know what you find when you pour into someone else? You actually have some moments to increase joy in your own self. I got to put the bonus thing. Rhonda's going to be happy that I said this and I added this extra 15 seconds, right? Exercise. Run,
Oh yeah.
walk, jog, do something to move. Even if you just turning the music up in your house and all y'all love these boots on the ground, it's over my head at this particular point. But just go ahead and shake your tail feather. And I bet you this, you will increase the joy in your life. You will find that peace is easier to find for your heart, but also making sure that as you're being your own medicine, it's okay to vocalize and say, I got to take off. Why? Because the doctor recommended. It could be me being my own doctor in my life, because I recommend that I'm a nicer person, that I'm a better person when I take some moments just to slow things down, to empty out, and then I get to be refilled in a great and amazing way. That's your word for the day. Be your own medicine. Be your own medicine. Rhonda, you
Love it.
were tapped in.
Yes, I love that. Be your own medicine. And I think that falls in line with just Tilted Halo. Just be your own medicine. Taking it in all mentally, physically. You mentioned exercise. Don't forget the food. I'm a foodie. I came from meeting
Yes.
Jesse, and we had food, and my body was so happy because I didn't eat lunch because it was meetings all day, and that was wrong because I focused on work and not take the time to nourish myself. So at that meeting, I ate it all. I ate everything that came across the table because I needed to nourish myself. I needed that nourishment in order for me to step into another meeting so I can give 100%.
There you go.
So yes. I agree with everything you said, and just be.
There you
Just
go.
be.
Listen, it's about that time, Regal Rhonda. So we made it all the way through. We had
We
a
did.
busy, jam-packed day. Chances are our tomorrow is busy and jam-packed, but we know we're gonna make sure that we eat, that we're drinking our water, that we're doing all our things, but also shouting out our sister right in her absence as the closeout. We still keep in tradition, and what a wonderful blessing it is to be connected to our sister friend, Nikita Tilted Hansford. Halo, have all these words and letters
Yeah.
come together. But we're super excited for the accolades and for just this season that we're in, right? Booked and blessed, that we're able to share our insight, share our wisdom with so many people. For those of you who have made it this far, thank you. For our replay viewers, we thank you. We want to let you know we appreciate y'all continuing to ride with us, with the tribe. And I think we got one more week. Next week is a banger.
Yes. Yes, it is. You
I'm
better
gonna say it twice. We're gonna be
tune
talking hair 2 weeks in a row. I am super excited. Listen, I don't want to give it all away. I'm just gonna say this: whatever your plans is for Tuesday, May 20th, if you missed this and you checking this out on the replay, change all your plans, right? Cancel everything.
Exactly.
Tell them you ain't gonna be there. It don't matter who making the potato salad or the cornbread. Y'all gonna be tuned in here. Grab your passports, right? Grab your
Yes.
notebooks and make sure y'all are coming on here. Why? Because we are not new to this. We are true to everything that we're bringing. Listen, I think we get to close this out, Rhonda. And this
Yes,
is
we
the part where we say, y'all be blessed. We out.
are. We out. See you next week. Tune in.
Next week, tune in.
Yes.